to the Eugene Torto YouTube channel. Once again, I'm working on the C4 Corvette. And if you want to keep up to date on what's going on with that, go down there, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And I think I had another YouTuber say asking people to subscribe and all that is lame. Well, I guess I'm lame. So anyway, I'm trying to grow the channel and make it better and all that good stuff. Finally broke down and started using a GoPro. Bought a GoPro. Kind of ate into my budget, but hey, you know. And I think I started using it in the last video or the video before that. But anyway, here we are. The water pump. I don't know if you saw the last video, but the water pump's in. The block-off plate for that mechanical fuel pump is all sealed back up. I'm getting ready to take off these fuel lines, but before I do that, I decided, like I was undecided whether I'm going to coat the headers myself, recoat them, or send them out. I just decided I found a place in Pennsylvania that recoats, and they're like 2.5 hours away from where I live, so I have to go down there. I'm going to just drive them down there one day, take off from work, drive them down there and all that good stuff, and drop them off, have them coated, and then I'll take them again. It'd be better than, I'll use a paid holiday to do it, and so I'll still get paid for it, and it's still cheaper than shipping it, because shipping something like large like headers can get pretty expensive. So they're pretty reasonable priced. When I get to that, making that video, I'll leave all the information, where I'm taking it, and all, etc., etc. One thing I want to go over though that a lot of people don't know, let me get my other light because this light stinks. There we go. But one thing you need to do when removing your headers, the first thing you need to do is remove all the spark plugs. Get the spark plugs out of the way. You're going to need to. And on a 90 C4, there is a bracket. I already have the bracket off, but there's a bracket that goes from, I don't know if you can see that down there. See if I can get this light position better for you. That bolt right there. And it goes up here to the back of the AC compressor. And let me see if I can find that bracket. There it is. It goes up here. Right now I got the brackets all off. I'm going to leave them off till I'm done the fuel lines. And when you remove the spark plugs, a lot of people have a harder time removing these two spark plugs right in here. That would be the 2 and 4 spark plug, I believe. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8. All the even numbers are on this side. 2 at the front, starting back, and 2 and 4 are probably the most difficult. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. One easy, without taking everything apart, is just remove this bracket right here. Hope you guys can see that. And that makes it easier to get to these plugs. The other thing you could do is remove this panel here, which I already have removed. And to make it even easier, I meant to get with the fuel lines and everything, because I may go ahead and remove this panel here too. They're not that difficult to remove. You know, everyone complains, but they're really just a couple of screws. Makes it easier if you have a power tool to speed things up. But it's just a couple of extra steps. Those couple of extra steps. One thing life has taught me: taking those couple of extra steps saves you a lot of headache later. You'll end up spending more time wrestling with something, trying to get around something, then it would take time to remove it and give you easier access. That's one thing this C4 here especially has taught me. So I'm going to get the headers off, and I'm not going to go into full detail about the headers, but different manufacturer headers require different installation and removal. These particular headers are Hooker 2149, and I believe they are, and they have the pollution controls on them. You have to go out through the bottom, and on the passenger side you have to actually remove the starter and lower the header and the starter down at the same time, or raise it up in there, depending on whether you're installing it or not. And I won't even go over the driver's side. It's actually super easy. You still got to go underneath the car. You could go up through the top. I think I actually did it once or something like that, but you got to go. It's better to go through the bottom, and you need to have your car way up in the air to clear it for the headers to clear the ground when you get them up in there. something to keep in mind. So I'm just going to get the headers out of the way, and then I'm going to go on with the fuel lines, which here are the fuel lines. If stainless steel fuel lines I'll be replacing. I'll go, when I get them, the old ones out, I'll go over to comparison of the two. And I do have heat wrap that's going to slide over this. And with this heat wrap on there, the brackets that attach this to the motor and attach it to the frame probably won't work, so I'll fab up some better ones that will work with that heat wrap. But let me get on with that, and I'll get back to you guys. Okay, the headers are out, the fuel lines are out, and I'm going to try and show you the difference between the new stainless steel ones and the old ones, and one of the reasons I'm changing them. And the main reason I'm changing them is these rubber parts of them are, well, 30 years old and over 225,000 miles. So I'm worried about, even though they look good on the outside, I'm worried about them deteriorating on the inside. And if this was to ever rupture, you're driving along, this is the part that's in the engine compartment, and I guarantee your car will go up in flames. So anyway, here's the new ones. You can't tell the way I have them right now, but they are bent exactly the same. They got these wire springy things that go over them that helps protect them. And of course, they got all new fittings on them. The one big difference is on the return line you have a pulsator. That's what the factory one is. Now, I have heard of these things deteriorating internally and causing all sorts of problems. And it's on a return, so I would imagine anything, if it does deteriorate, it's going to flow back into the tank. And if it does come back up through the feed line, your filter should catch it. But I think what I heard was these things end up deteriorating and leaking, so that's another possible fire. The new ones do not come with it. I never heard of anybody having problems with it. It's just like if you replace your fuel pump. They usually just come with a short section of hose, where the factory one had a pulsator in there too, and that's to absorb the pulses from the injectors. That being said, I never heard of anyone having a problem. If you look down here on the return, hopefully you can see that. You can see here where this line is corroded also. Not bad, but still it's corroded and gunky and all that stuff. And one thing I want to do also is I'm going to sheath these in some Heat Shield Products thermo-reflective sleeve. I'm going to slide this over it before I put them back in. And they have these little brackets, so I'll have to notch them out for the brackets. These here, like this here, bolts to the engine block, right where the block-off plate for the mechanical fuel pump is on the first-gen small block Chevys. And then there's another one here that bolts to the frame. Now these come real close to the headers. That's one of the reasons I'm going to sheath them. Hopefully they'll keep the fuel a lot cooler, which makes it run a lot better. And of course, I have a new fuel filter. Anyone who hasn't replaced their fuel filter, make sure you look on here. I don't know if you can see it in here or not, but it's marked the flow path. And this is an AC Delco one, and I forgot what brand this is, but this one here actually has out on it. This is the one I'm taking off. And funny thing is, this seems, I don't know, this seems lighter than what I'm replacing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but either way, it's getting replaced, and with a new one. And like I was saying about the headers, I am going to get them recoated. They're not like super bad. Let me see if I can show you. Here you can see where they're bad. They're not real bad, but what happens if you just let them go, and this is what I'm worried about. If I let them go, they're going to end up just corroding more and more and get bad. And eventually just rust through to a point where you can't use them. It would have to rust. These are pretty heavy headers and pretty thick rolled steel, so they would take a while to rust through, but hey, I'm gonna get them coated, and I'll do another video on that where I take them and etc. etc. I'm gonna add another bung to it too, an O2 bung. Like here I have one added, and that's for the wideband, and I'm gonna add another one to this, so this way I'll move the wideband to this side, and then this side I'll run the O2 sensor. Presently on these style headers, whoops, sorry about that, goes right there. And that works real well with the factory unheated O2 sensor. I have a 4-wire heated one. So if you ever move your O2 sensor down there in your headers, make sure you get a heated O2 sensor. Like I said, I'll go into that in another video. So I'm going to get the sheathing on the new ones, get them all laid out, and get them in the car and all that good stuff. And I'll let you know, these do come with new O-rings too, which is real nice. So anyway, let me get to work on that, and I'll get back to you guys. Alright, the fuel lines are back in, and they were not a perfect fit. I did have to massage them a little bit to get these to line up right. In order to get these to line up right, I had to like tap on these corners with I did it with a dead blow hammer. And whenever you install these, thread these in, you should be able to thread these in by finger. If not, if the lines aren't lined up enough where you can't thread these in by finger, you know, wiggle the line and thread them in by finger, then something's not lined up right and you need to readjust them. Don't force them, you'll end up cross-threading them. When you do that, I don't know what you're going to do. It's going to be a lot of problems, especially for what I paid for these lines. They were like $260 for these stainless lines, and that's just going from the fuel filter up to the fuel reel. They're expensive. If I were to do it again, I don't think I'd spend that money. I'd call Summit. Summit knows what AN fittings you need to connect these and the fuel filter and the return line. And I could have done it that way and probably saved myself a lot of money and just got some fuel line and made myself up some flexible fuel line and did it that way. I know some other people have done it. I've seen it on the fuel rooms anyway. And I was able to use the mountain straps that retain the fuel lines to the block where the mechanical fuel pump block-off plate is, just in its factory location. That actually fit over this insulation that I have here. Hopefully you guys can see that, and better down here. And I was able to get that. There's another strap that holds them to the frame rail. That was able to fit over all that insulation, and I got a new fuel filter in. And talking of fuel filters, I talked about this in another video, but the biggest problem when just changing your fuel filter on a C4, and I hear complaints about it, and I've had the same problem, is when you're underneath the car. It's located under here, underneath there. I'll see if I can get under there and show you. Hold on a second. I got my heater going here because it is cold. I don't have the heat shield on yet, but there it is. And the biggest problem people have is when they disconnect it, fuel runs out and gets all over them. I've done the same thing myself, and the best thing to do, like I said, is if you don't want to get fuel all over yourself, remove your fuel door. There's only 4 little torque bits that hold it in place, and either you could you don't even have to remove your fuel lines, just pinch them off. Well, even if you pinch them off, you're still going to end up getting some fuel coming out of that fuel filter when you take it out. But since I had the fuel lines disconnected up at the fuel reels, I went and disconnected them here and just blew the fuel out of the lines. It just made it a lot easier, and I didn't have to worry about fuel pouring all over me when I took the fuel filter out. So that's just a tip, as if you don't mind going through the extra trouble of disconnecting your fuel lines up here and back there and blowing them out. Just make sure when you blow them out, you blow them off into a container or something. Like I said, it's always better to have an extra set of hands when you do something like that, and don't blow fuel all over the place. But I think I'm going to call it a day and just wait until I get my headers back to pick up where I'm left off. I think I'd rather wait till I get my headers back, get the headers on, get the exhaust on, then I'll work on this intake. There's an oil leak. I said about that in the other video. I think it's like the third time I'm fixing that China wall. I'm gonna listen to Not Too Slim Jim. He's a subscriber on his channel. He says he uses the cork gasket. He gets cork gasket from the auto supply store and cuts it and makes his own gasket along the rear China wall. Never has a leak. I should have listened to him last time, so maybe I'll listen to him this time and do it that way and never have a China wall leak again. What makes me mad is I went like 20,000 miles on this motor after I built it without a single leak, and then that happened, and ever since then it's happened over and over again. But I'm gonna wrap it up. Check out my other videos. I have a bunch of videos mostly about the C4, but check them out. Go down in the YouTube comment sections of my videos, leave comments if you have questions. I do have people ask me to do videos on certain things. If I can do them, I do them. If I can, I can't. But anyway, everybody have a good day, and God bless.